All right, so we are back on the Whie Concept presented by The Ring Magazine, and today I wanted to make this video. I really wanted to make it in the last video we did. I know I'm talking a lot about UFC 321 and Tom Aspinall, Ciryl Gane, Jon Jones, this entire saga, but I can't get enough of it. I'm enjoying dipping my toe back in the MMA space as well. Who knows? Maybe it's not a toe dip. Maybe we dive in. But today, I said something on Twitter after UFC 321 that I am starting to see more and more as a reality of the situation, and that is that Dana White hates Tom Aspinall. I can't unsee it. It seems like every time I look at an interaction with those two, and especially at the post-fight press conference with Dana White, after Tom Aspinall gets poked in his eyes, and again, not his fault, can't really do anything about it, and can't continue fighting because he can't see, because both of his eyes have been poked, Dana had a, let's just say, less than supportive response, which I pointed out here, seems pretty insane because that's his heavyweight champion of the world. And I just quote tweeted a Happy Punch tweet by saying, oh yeah, no, Dana hates Tom Aspinall because of the video we're about to watch. Why does this keep happening? It's a familiar pattern. Dana White having issues at the top of the food chain, especially with his heavyweight champions. And I'm going to get into what I think is exactly why. It's not just money. That's part of it, but it's a long list of things. What do I mean? The breakdown. Let's go. All right, so here's Dana White talking about the Ciryl Gane, Tom Aspinall situation after the fight on Saturday night. And let's just hear his response to what it is that happened and the questions being asked, and just how the head man of the UFC goes about answering what clearly was not Tom Aspinall's fault, getting poked in his eyeballs, and how he's there to either support or promote his heavyweight champion. Let's take a listen at this.
Obviously, not a way we want to see a main event end, any fight end. Give us your reaction to the eye poke and how it all went out.
I mean, I feel the way everybody feels. Great showing, shitty ending, you know? I think that after the Jones fight, a lot of people wrote Ciryl Gane off. He looked damn good tonight.
Yeah, what did you think about the...
All right, so first off, yes, what Dana says is true. Like, a lot of people did write Ciryl Gane off for this fight. Ciryl performed better than a lot of people thought he would. Tom, I thought, performed how I assumed he would in the first round. I thought the second would be a little bit of a different story, but Ciryl was better than I thought he would be, and a lot of people thought he would be. And for the people that thought Tom was just going to bulldoze Ciryl, this was a reality check that MMA math doesn't work. Just because Jon Jones beat someone in 2 minutes doesn't mean that because Tom, you feel, is better than Jon Jones, he's going to beat him even quicker, right? It's not how it works. Styles make fights, and that's why you can't make the comparison on the other side, that Jon Jones is so much better than Tom Aspinall because he beat Ciryl Gane. Yes, it's a common opponent, but by that logic, like, it took Jon Jones' decision to beat, and he really didn't beat, Dominic Reyes or the Gustafsson first fight. Like, you could do that all day and be like, well, this guy beat him better. Doesn't really matter. But notice there, Dana didn't answer his thoughts on the eye poke. He just said, I feel how everybody feels, and Ciryl looked good. Nothing about Tom there.
What did you take from those 4 minutes?
Good. Looked like we were in for a few rounds, and it was going to be a good fight.
It would seem obvious that a rematch is right on the cards. Would you like to just rebook these guys as soon as Tom is able to get back in there?
Yeah. Total pain in the ass, but yes.
Yeah. Have you got any
Again, it's a total pain in the ass. And he's right. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass to have to do this again. But there is a silver lining that, yes, you now get maybe a bigger fight than you would have. This is one of the worst things that could have possibly happened on this card for sure, especially seeing as the UFC has this relationship with, you know, Abu Dhabi and the Middle East, and this is them paying a shit ton of money for this fight to kind of flop like it. Not even kind of, it flopped. And so did the majority of the card, really. There were great performances, but as far as name value, monetary value, the whole thing, wasn't a ton of star-making performances. Outside of Quillen Salkeld, that guy, I'm going to be watching every one of his next fights. But look at Dana's attitude toward it. It seems like he's just more upset, like he's a pain in the ass, we got to do this again. Not like, oh, I hope my heavyweight champion is all right. I don't know. Just watching him answer these questions, there isn't really any thought given to the actual eye poke and how it's affecting Tom. More so just like, ugh, got to do this shit again. Like, it seems like he doesn't want to deal with this situation, and not just Aspinall Gane, but really Tom Aspinall. Again, I could be reading too much in, but that's just the way I'm hearing him. It almost seems distraught and kind of like I'm fed up with it.
Medical update on Tom, or is it still too soon?
He's on his way to the hospital.
It's a bit of a weird question, right? It was ruled a no contest because of an unintentional eye poke. What does it take to make an eye poke intentional, and is there even a way you could ever prove that?
Who the fuck knows? Who gives a shit? What are you gonna do?
What? I don't mind the answer. You can tell he's fed up. He's pissed that this is the way the thing ended, and I get it. We're all pissed. That's not the way we wanted that fight to go. But it's a good question. That's Oscar Willis with the Mac Life asking about the intentionality of strikes and how do you even determine it, because essentially this fight was ruled a no contest because they determined that, and I think rightfully, that Cyril accidentally eye poked him, and because the intention was not malintent, pars, that you can't disqualify him. And because Cyril was probably winning that round. Now, there is a bit of a gray area when you talk about the intentionality of strikes landing and what that means. Like, does it matter if you intentionally foul someone because you still fouled them? You still have to pay the price for fouling them? This is why I'm in favor of taking points immediately, no warnings involved. But if the fight is stopped, should that not be a DQ? Should it be a no contest? I really don't know. I feel like a no contest is the right call because it was so early in the fight, because, again, to me, it was a mistake that if Cyril Gane makes that mistake whilst winning, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right to go full-on DQ, but he is the reason that the fight was stopped. He is the reason that the fight could not continue, and it was because of a foul. So, it's a good question, but you hear Dana like, who gives a shit? It just, I don't know, it feels like a checked-out Dana White. It does, when he answers questions like that. Like, not even giving time to answer in a way that, you know, he could spin it into promoting the next event or spin it into, all right, no, we do have to figure this out because I'm tired of this shit happening. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's how I'm going to make a difference to eliminate this from the sport. And I don't know that you can with eye pokes. I don't know that you can in any way assure it's not going to happen, but just that the answer itself is what I'm talking about. He's like, who gives a shit? Who the fuck knows who gives a shit? That doesn't scream a guy that's locked in when his heavyweight champ, potentially at this point, he doesn't know, has got a really bad eye injury, and he's like, who gives a fuck? You know, like, that's kind of crazy to hear.
I know we, tried to do new gloves before and that kind of didn't work out. Is there anything we can do to stop these eye pokes? Would you ever look at maybe trying to change the gloves again, or is it just part of the sport, just shit happens?
Yeah. I mean, no matter what you do with the glove, I mean, they're going to happen.
And what did you think for the rest of the...
It is going to happen. Regardless, I do think they should change the gloves. I think that the Pride-style glove where they cup the hands purposely, even if your hands are open, that they're going to have the fingers kind of bent back towards you more than straight out. But then again, if you raise the hand up and those curved gloves are this way, if you're trying to catch stuff, then I don't know. You're never going to fix it completely. But it's funny when Oscar Willis talks about, we tried the new gloves for a little bit, and the new gloves, when the UFC introduced them, were a bit more curved. They did have a bit more of a curvature to them. And funny enough, the guy that had the most trouble with them and didn't want to wear them, and I don't know if it was solely because of him, but they tried them out. John Jones fucking hated them. Didn't want to wear them, refused to wear them against Cyril Gane, and then they did go back to the original glove. Most people said that was because of the issue of guys not knocking people out and, fights not being as explosive. I don't know the reason, but one of the bigger people that had an issue with the new gloves when they tried them was the serial eye poker himself. The man that should be in a Moe and Curly Three Stooges skit. It's John Jones. He was gouging eyes, dude. Like, it was almost like sign language the way he was poking fingers out at people. It was clear he was a problem, and still is if he ever fights again. So I don't know if that has anything to do with why the gloves went the other way, but we all know that Dana... he fancies himself some John Jones as the GOAT, so you can tell where he's leaning in that back and forth. If John or Tom were to have an issue, he's going to side with John Jones.
And I know that you said you'd want to do the rematch between Tom and Cyril. It's very fresh, but any potential timeline for that? Like maybe January, the kick off the Paramount card?
Yeah. I mean, they're both in shape other than whatever's wrong with his eye. Both guys are not injured so as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Then what about?
Yeah, I think that if Tom, which we've seen Tom's video now, we did a breakdown on that a couple days ago. I think that if Tom is healthy, then it would be a perfect situation. I mean, knock on wood, nothing bad happens again, because you can't have oh God, I'm gonna put it out there. You can't have another flop for your first fight on Paramount. If you guys remember, the JDS and Kane fight, I think, was the one on Fox when they debuted, and it was I forgot what happened, but it was a shitty first debut when the UFC first went to Fox. It was not a great night. You can't have that kind of thing happen. So again, hopefully nothing bad would happen again for these two, but that would be a perfect landing spot for Tom Aspinall and Ciryl Gane is that first Paramount card in January, because you're kind of booked out to the end of the year and you do want to make a splash on that first card. They were thinking maybe it'll be Ilya, maybe not. Now you have a perfect opportunity to slide this fight in there. People are going to be more interested in it, and there's going to be a bit more of a buzz based off this first fight, based off the controversy, and based off the performance of both guys in the time that we saw them fight. So I think that would be a perfect spot.
The rule, it's only the second time in a championship fight that we do have a no contest for such thing. We just have to go by the judges and the fighters' will. That's just the way it is. For him to say after 5 minutes, I can no longer continue. What I'm trying to figure out is there different levels of eye pokes? You see what I'm saying?
Nobody sees what you're saying, sir.
What kind of question was that? I guess what the guy is asking is like, is there a way to determine severity of eye pokes, and is there a way to, based off that, delineate between no contest and disqualification? And the answer, as of right now, I don't think, unless you saw like a John Jones thing where his hand is fully extended and his fingers are parallel to the ground, he is like, on purpose, like, I'm gonna stab you in the eyes if you come any closer type of thing. Like he's jabbing with his hand open and he's like, I don't know if there's a way to determine intentionality, but that would be the way to delineate between no contest and disqualification. I think it was MMA Guru that said he would like to see if you're down on the scorecards and you do something like that, then yeah, you're getting DQ'd. If you're up, then no contest. But I don't know, man. I think there just needs to be a clear one rule application for everything. If that means you get DQ'd as soon as you eye poke someone and they can't continue, then fair. Okay, if that's what we need to do to make a concrete rule on these things, yeah, it's going to suck, but that at least discourages it to a point of like, I may lose if I do this, even if it's an accident. So let me be extra cautious on it, right? Like we have these kind of things in place for head kicks when people are on the ground, or, what used to be 12-6 elbows. Like those things are pretty hard stance. You don't do them, or you get DQ'd. Maybe we can do something like that for eye gouges.
It's only up to the fighter to stay whether or not he wants to continue.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Well, yeah, what am I going to say? Hey, Tom, no, you're going to keep fighting.
Ciryl tried to tell him or go toward him, and Jason Herzog said, don't talk to the opponent at that point. So I guess they were trying to figure out to one another.
You can't, just like, I can't make people fight, right? If I want to put together a fight, I can't make people fight. And you definitely can't make somebody continue if they feel they've been injured. Only Tom knows what happened. Could he see? Couldn't he see? Could he continue? Only he knows that.
This is what I'm talking about, man. Again, you see the way he answers that question. Now, again, the question was asked really weird, like, oh, only the fighter can determine that. And he kind of walked Dana into saying, like, again, how do we make a concrete ruling here? But again, we're talking about Tom's choice. In Dana's words, choice, only he can decide whether he wants to fight or not, to continue fighting with no vision in one eye and blurry vision in the other, versus, again, I don't think Ciryl did it on purpose, but Ciryl committed the foul. He is in the wrong here. Tom is not in the wrong. And the same way I said this about Henry Cejudo and Song Yadong, where he got Song Yadonged in his fucking eyeballs, you can look at this fighter as a referee and ask him what he wants to do. And that's a terrible way of judging, in my opinion, because the rules should protect a fighter in this moment more so than the old, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get on with it fighter. Because in every scenario where a fighter, not every, but a lot of scenarios where a fighter continues on after being eye gouged, they lose. DC in the Stipe fight, Stipe in the DC trilogy as well, Henry Cejudo, Song Yadong, these are things that continually happen because they're compromised. And for Dana to sit there and talk about, well, only Tom knows if he could see or not, and I can't make guys fight, I can't make them, while not giving any sort of like, hey, yeah, Ciryl fucked up. It's his fault that this happened, and if he doesn't do that, then we're not having this discussion. We don't hear that from Dana. I mean, he's not saying it, but he's kind of saying only Tom knows if he was really hurt or not. Only Tom knows if he was looking for a way out or not. Like, he's not saying those specific words, but he's essentially doing that. And that's fucking crazy. Tom, we saw, go to the doctor, He described it as his eyeball feeling like his eyeball was poked into the back of his skull. That's what happened, dude. Again, I don't think the intentionality really matters when we're talking about who should be, you know, receiving the blame for this. And it really shouldn't even be like a who should be receiving the blame. How do we go forward having confidence in the heavyweight champion of the world if not only the online fan base is like, look at Tom, scared, quitter, blah. You have the freaking head of the UFC being like, well, I don't really know. I can't make him fight. You know, only he knows. What are we doing? I was disappointed in the way this fight was built up. I'm more disappointed in the way this is being handled at the presser. This is crazy. You try not to venture into like having personal bias, but Dana clearly likes some fighters and doesn't like others. I don't know how you look at this and don't think Dana has a bias to like not like Tom Aspinall, because that's what he's telling us here.
First of all, I can sit here right now. The fight just got over however long ago. What makes sense is to do the rematch. It makes sense. You know, sitting here tonight, I say, yeah, that makes sense. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. Anything can happen between now and, you know, when I get him. We're not talking this Tuesday. I go from here to Saudi. I go to Qatar, then Saudi. I'm still here for another 8 or 9 days. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not saying anybody's going to be a #1 contender outside of Cyril Gane. I don't know. But right here, right now, being honest, which I never do this ever, is talk about, you know, what next fight's going to happen. The rematch is what makes sense.
I was going to say, he's talking like the rematch may not even be the thing he wants to do or that they go with. He's like, I'm not saying that's what happens next, but it makes sense. If you don't give this fight a rematch, that would be even worse. I mean, yeah, you could do like, imagine Tom is like, oh, I'm not going to give that guy a rematch, that cheater or whatever. And you do Tom versus Volkov 2. You have to ride this wave. You have to. I think Dana wants to see it out and see the rematch, but there's so much now built up to this fight. There's so much attention around it. It would be a flat fucking miss to not do it again. Ironically, this eye poke has garnered more attention around this fight than it ever had before any of that stuff. This fight, it was a big fight for the people in the MMA space, but now it's reaching other levels of casual fans that are going to be locked in for this second one because they're on one of two sides. They're on the Cyril is a cheater, fuck that guy, I hope Tom knocks him out side, or Tom Aspinall quit, he didn't want no part of it, I hope Cyril gets the job done even more this time. Like, you're seeing these splits happen right now in the MMA scene, and you have to run with it.
With the few things we've seen into this fight, I feel like Cyril was doing pretty well. Do you feel the same? And do you feel that he's earned respect so that people would care even more when you make this fight again and the odds would be more equivalent?
Yes. Yes, I agree. I think that, I said earlier, because of the John Jones fight, I think everybody was sleeping on Cyril Gane and sort of wrote him off.
I agree.
And he's right behind me. He's coming in next, so you guys can ask him how he felt. But I feel like, you know, I'm sure in his camp, he was training like an animal for this fight. And it's unfortunate that it ended the way that it did. And, yes, I think that there probably will be a lot more interest in the rematch after they saw, you know, he had Tom bloodied up. And, you know, Tom didn't want to continue in the fight. So the rematch is very interesting.
You only answer a question that way if you fucking hate your heavyweight champion. You can't convince me otherwise. Yes, the question was asked about Cyril, but Dana attributes all of the things that happened good in the fight to just Cyril Gane. You hear him talking about, you know, people wrote Cyril off. I agree with him, by the way. Based on the John Jones fight, people did write Cyril Gane off and say that Tom was going to run through him and all that. But you hear him then go, yeah, you know, I bet Cyril was training like an animal for this. Not mentioning that Tom Aspinall's been out for 15 months. He was probably training his ass off too, no? And mostly the time he took off was because he was trying to lobby for a John Jones fight that the UFC never got done for him. This is the way a fan of Cyril or John Jones and a hater of Tom Aspinall speaks. Again, maybe it's just me reading too much into it. That sounds like coded language, like, yeah, Tom didn't want it anymore, you know? Like, yeah. He had him bloodied up and he just didn't want to go. No, he got his eyes gouged and he couldn't see. What are we talking about? This is your heavyweight champion. And again, I have to think you only speak this way if you have a preconceived bias. And I say preconceived because I don't think this just developed tonight. I don't think this just happened where, you know, Dana just decided, fuck Tom Aspinall, he's a quitter or whatever. I think it's because of the things we've talked about in previous videos, like something like this week. from Andy Aspinall, which, by the way, I will say is a terrible, terrible thing for Andy Aspinall, Tom's father and head coach, to be doing during fight week, talking about how he's going to take Tom out of MMA and take him into boxing because the pay's better over there. They only have a couple fights left, and that he doesn't want him to sign a new contract with the UFC. This is stuff that you don't do as the sitting heavyweight champion, because all it does is burn bridges with the decision makers at the UFC.
You said that you wanted a boxing champion home.
for sure.
You're okay with an MMA champion, but you wanted a boxing champion.
Boxing for sure. The money is
More money. Yeah.
more money. Why not?
Would that be an outcome for him? No.
He's 3 more fights on the contract now,
Okay. So
and I don't want to sign a new contract
okay.
personally.
So
Now, that was before the fight. Tom now has 2 fights left on his deal, and man, I just have a feeling it's going to be a rough 2 fights they're going to try to give Tom Aspinall, because again, if you remember back when Dana White had issues with Francis Ngannou heading into the last part of his career, remember, Dana White was all aboard the Francis Ngannou train when he was going to fight Stipe for the first time. And Dana White, remember, he had some issues with Stipe at that time. All the talk was about Francis, how he hits harder than a Chevy Cruze going 20 miles an hour or something, and how he's the most devastating whatever in heavyweight history. This is all things that were being said about Francis Ngannou before the first Stipe fight. And then Stipe beats Francis. I'm pretty sure Dana didn't put the belt on Stipe after he beat Francis. Again, a little sign that there wasn't a great relationship there. I think Stipe took the belt, gave it to his coach, and let the coach put it on him. And then Dana got in the press conference afterward, and I think was trashing Francis a little bit. He wasn't prepared. He was smelling the roses and all that. And then he got back on the Francis train. Francis started to get those wins back and beat Stipe the second time, and all of a sudden, Dana White was saying John Jones shouldn't come up and fight Francis Ngannou. He don't want that smoke, essentially. And then, as things played out a little further and Francis got toward the end of that contract, and you started to hear Dana White talk about how Francis had the wrong people around him and how he was hard to deal with. And Dana can be right about all those things. And it maybe is that we're seeing more and more now with Francis. But the point I'm making is this is a pattern of behavior. If you give Dana an opportunity to look at you as somebody that's not going to be good for business, that someone that doesn't want to do business, or that someone that's going to turn their back on the UFC, he's not going to like you. And this is why I think he's starting to hate the Aspinalls and Tom Aspinall in general. Not to mention one of the cardinal sins when you're dealing with Dana White. One of the things he hates more than anything, and I agree with him on this, is a champion that won't fight his friends. And again, it's not like any other sport where you're playing the sport against your friend, but this is fighting, so emotions can dictate how you defend whatever. Here's Dana White responding to Tom Aspinall, saying essentially he wouldn't fight one of his friends that just entered the UFC.
The guy that's currently ranked number 10 is his friend, Ante Delija, and he would vacate the title if Delija got to a point where he was going to fight for the title.
He's one of like my genuine friends. I would never. I'll vacate it and he can have his time.
Fair.
Really? I wouldn't fight him. No chance. Fair. There's some stuff to me that's like more important than like money and titles.
You know what I think about that before you even ask me. I hate that. Many friends, relatives, name it, have all fought each other before. It doesn't determine whether you are friends with somebody or you hate somebody. You're competing against them to see who the best is, but that's his decision. If he defends the title and does whatever he does, to even think about vacating it because you don't want to compete against somebody is absolutely insane. But he's a grown man. That's up to him.
This is the type of stuff I'm telling you. It's been building now, and this was just this week. This was just this fight week, so I have to think it's been building for a while now. But when you see all this evidence laid out, I think that my assumption here is pretty clear. Dana White fucking hates Tom Aspinall. I think he hates dealing with him or his dad. I think he hates the outcome of this fight and probably attributes it more to Tom than he does Ciryl Gane, which I think is insane. And I think potentially this could be also a part of this John Jones discussion that's been going on for the last, it feels like, year now about who is the best in the world or top pound for pound number one. Dana has always had issues with John Jones, but for whatever reason recently has stuck by him for pound, for best ever, for best in the UFC right now. And even after the Tom Aspinall fight fell through, he is still somewhat taking that side of things, which as the promoter, I feel like you don't have to do that. Dana's always run it his way, and he's gotten personal with people before, the Tito Ortizes of the world, which I think he was right about in some cases. He had his grievances, and it was fair there as well, but, Francis Ngannou, and there's been so many. But I just feel like this is the worst thing that could possibly happen for Tom Aspinall right now is the pile-on effect that's happening online, the eye poke of doom, his dad saying a lot of these things this week. I think that was a terrible move. Him saying he doesn't want to defend versus his friends. The idea of him moving to boxing and leaving the heavyweight division. All of it is bad. And now he essentially has to fight Ciryl Gane and the UFC in this rematch in January. And hope to God nothing bad happens, because as of right now, all blame, all hatred from the top, from the decision makers at the UFC, with Tom still having 2 fights left, they don't like him. That's what I think. You guys let me know down below. I don't think this thing is going to get better before it gets worse. I hope so, but it doesn't look like this relationship is panning out. We've seen this story before. It usually ends ugly. What do you think happens? Don't have those answers, but I guess we'll find out.